So let's just make sure we know what's going on here. Okay, well, I remember when I was first learning this, I definitely had to start with fingering, obviously. Make sure you know you can do, a lot of times it's either 2-4 or 2-3 sometimes, or 3-1. Well, not in this case, it would be 2-3 maybe. Like, I do 2-3 in that, and 2-4-5. I do 2-2-3 instead of 2-4. You can play the entire cluster as a whole. See what's more comfortable to put in the inner voice when it's as a whole, because that represents just a natural, how would you just play a chord. It kind of gives you just an instinctive idea of what fingering you should use. And definitely keep counting. So then we get back to the theme. Whenever you have some repetition again, I always ask myself, well, what about it is different this time? Because obviously the audience will recognize that that's the pattern from the beginning. But what does it do this time? Or how does it sound or seem to you this time? There's not much time for it to settle in, basically, until it goes somewhere again. But you definitely want to give the air of some calm, because it's a pretty solid harmony, a very solid motive. So that's another reason why I don't choose to over-articulate it, because that's kind of more frantic in character. I count, I make sure it's very steady, not so fast, so that the harmony speaks, the melody speaks for itself. It can sit in, maybe for 2 bars. And then we get a little more intense again. So just the pacing is important there, because it's got to really set in for the audience's ears. Maybe here and here it's like that's kind of stands alone, and then we can open it up again to the next harmony. And then I'd say practice that in a similar way, and then we get to the fun part. This is when Rachmaninoff's getting personal. So one thing off the bat, make sure you're not over pedaling. And there's a lot of choice about what you want to do with the middle voices. Between both hands, there's a lot of shared lines. Maybe you want to only bring out the left hand. A lot of times, though, it's not one or the other. It's not so black and white. You have this dissonance here, and then in as it expands again. So maybe don't overplay the beginning. Let the dissonance speak for itself. And then we have another phrase or gesture, and then of course a longer line. So maybe there you want to break it. And then introduce the middle voice. So there's a lot of choice basically about what you want. And that's another incentive not to rush through, because there's so much that you can do. So let's think about this idea. We don't want to rush this because we want to do a lot of listening. Without thinking about the technique, we already know that we're not going to be so uptight about treating every note as like, a quest to hammer out every note. So we're going to have, just with that in mind, a little bit more forgiving. Our bodies are going to be a little bit more supple. So one don't we go through and shadow one hand? This just means playing it on top of the keys without playing the notes, just to get this idea of it can just absorb, your body absorbs the phrase. Focus on going to the chords and touching them on the keys before you actually would play them. Something like that. It gets it into your mind that it's kind of one continuous kind of train of thought. And then we have this idea. I always remember that these were really hard. There's some tricky spots up on the top of the, something like that too, where the inside of the hand's doing some really weird stuff. That maybe just try it very staccato. Don't speed through it. Just train yourself to feel what's happening, the harmony here. Dramatic line. You know, I'm not making much sense right now, but I think the point that I'm trying to make is that you have to look at just what the score feels like, and the chromatic lines in it to listen for. It's just, you really have to take the time to get to know the score and what's written there, in order to then kind of determine how you should go about practicing. The more that you study, the less it is about just doing this to make it work. You know, because there's much more that you think of and that you hear and that you will feel as you're learning a piece of music, which is a good sign, because it kind of shows that you're there's a lot that you value in the piece. Let me see if I can think of something more general just to kind of finalize this. Let me just play this, one of my favorite spots. Okay, so that's a very sincere attempt at playing it. I'm not trying to force myself too hard to play it. I'm just really trying to listen. You know, but the important thing is, like I marked it off, it is a bridge from here to this spot. So I want to think of it as such. And with that in mind, we really need to make sure that there is some kind of pulse so that it's continuing to move forward. So I would really just skeletonize and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The repetition is a sign that the body naturally will be involved. You could try skeletonize again and making sure that you understand where the music's going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know, something like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. So even though this is only mezzo forte, there's a lot of movement in it. if you want to make sure that those ideas are connected like they should be, displace the beat. One and one, maybe Indianapolis, 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 Indianapolis. Play the same harmony multiple times as you're doing the left hand. I mean, this is of course notes, but there's an incredible color change that is taking place as you're playing this. So that's a practice strategy you can use. Play the same harmony, even if it's a random note. If the hands had to color each other, or if you were really listening closely to some kind of harmony, you're inserting your own harmonic drive within that to kind of track the color change. That's a really cool thing that you can all of a sudden hear all these colors, and you might think, well, it's just a triplet rhythm, it's just a chromatic line, and it's going to here, piece of cake. Yeah, that's true, you know, but there's so much that's not written there. That's happening that you can hear. But I think the point I'm trying to make, I know this is a long video, but the point I'm trying to make is that if you are able to study the score and analyze it, and hear it in these creative ways, and then relate it to ways of practicing to support those things, then it kind of takes the liability off your back, because it's always about this product, this final product. You know, it's about the music. It's not about your technique, so you don't have to worry about it. It's about that. It's how you are able to access some of these important ideas in the music. So I hope that kind of helps give you some ideas of how to start to get the piece up and running, and flesh it out and see what's going on there.